What is up, Planeswalkers? Theorix6 back with some more Magic the Gathering Arena, and today we're going to be looking at the Mono Blue new player deck. Now, the base of this deck is essentially a blue tempo-style artifact value deck. The goal of the deck is to try and land a few cards that care about artifacts, a few blue cards that care about artifacts, and a few artifacts, and slowly whittle your opponent down while making life a little bit difficult. However, it also has like a flyer sub-theme, and we'll get to that a little bit more later. Just like all of the other new player decks, the deck suffers from a lack of consistency brought upon by having too many 1 and 2 ofs. So for the first deck, we essentially just stuck with the artifact nature of it, and just tried to up the numbers to make sure we were hitting things more consistently. I believe we also upped the total artifact count. What is this? 2, 8, 12, and this one is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we upped it by like 1, but I think we also might have added more things. But essentially that's just to make the deck a little bit more consistent. Then I thought for a while, do I stick really heavily with the artifact theme, or do I try and make the deck good? And I decided to make the deck good by focusing more on the flyers than on the artifacts. I still kept artifacts as a sub-theme. However, I felt that having the evasive flyers worked more favorably in whittling down our opponent than having a lot of blue cards that were on the ground that cared about artifacts that we might not draw anyway. So the reason I did this is because a lot of the cards we're going to be playing are good enough on their own because of the fact that they have some sort of evasion in flying. So for the first part, we decided to go ahead and bump off our Gearsmith Prodigy for Artificer's Assistant. Now, Gearsmith Prodigy essentially is just a grizzly bear on a condition. I should say a cheaper grizzly bear, but a grizzly bear nonetheless on a condition. Being a 2/2 when only we have an artifact out is okay if we can curve really well into it, but we can't guarantee that with how low our artifact count is. Additionally, it's not a great draw late game, whereas Artificer's Assistant, it has that evasion, so it's likely going to be able to get in for more damage over the course of the game anyway, because it's not going to get gummed up on the ground in the mid game. Additionally, if we do top deck this, any artifact top deck we have thereafter will make our draws a little bit better going on. So this card is just, it's not strictly better, but it's relatively better because of the exact aspects of it being a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Valuable in more circumstances. Additionally, it is also just a common, so it's not too big of a difference. There were actually very few strict upgrades, whereas in the mono white version, we saw that a lot of the cards that we were adding in were ostensibly just better cards. And I believe we only had one for this, and that was Blink of an Eye. We got rid of Disperse for Blink of an Eye because they are essentially the same cards, except Blink of an Eye has Kicker as well, which means just play Blink of an Eye if you have them. This is probably, like, if you're really low on common wild cards, I would say craft Blink of an Eye first, because like that upgrade just smooths your game plan out, because late in the game, if you have like just Dispersed, you can get rid of their pesky card for 1 turn, but you haven't really advanced anything. Whereas with Blink of an Eye, late game, you can pay 4 mana, get rid of their thing, and draw a card, and that's really good. So we're playing Aether Swooper, still sticking to the flying theme and kind of the artifact theme as well. Aether Swooper allows us to have a kind of poorly costed flyer, but with the advantage of making an artifact as well that doesn't fly, but is still an artifact. So it will help us trigger some of our things like Scholar of the Stars. Then we move on to 2 favorable wins, and the reason I decided to include exactly 2 of these is there still are some draws where you're going to have not a lot of flyers. So you don't really want an enchantment that does functionally nothing on that type of draw. You don't want to see it very often. But when you do see it, it is going to be very strong. If you do decide that you want to go this flyers route, you'll definitely want to essentially remove the artifact sub-theme, focus on having a lot of relatively cheap flyers, 1s, 2s, and 3s, and then max out your favorable wins to 4. Because this card is very strong, very similar to a card called Intangible Virtue from OG Ravnica. It might be from Dissension, or not Dissension, Dark Ascension. but it's a very strong card. It's essentially a Lord. Of course, Lords do come with a body. However, the fact that it doesn't come with a body does help in the best of one format. Like I said in the Mono White video, since we're going to only be playing this in best of one, and once again, I urge you, as new players, only to play best of one until you get a grasp of your good matchups and your bad matchups and what cards you might want to add to your sideboard. This being a best of one will have fewer spells that are going to inherently interact with it, because people aren't going to necessarily want to play a ton of artifact or enchantment hate in their main decks, because some matchups, they just don't matter. Let's see. Next up, we have Glint Nest Crane. It's a flyer, and it serves double duty on helping us get an artifact, just like the Militia Captain, Veteran Militia from the Mono White video. Don't worry if you're unable to actually get value off of this card. This card essentially is just a 2-mana 1/3 flyer that by itself is fine, and sometimes it will get you value. 3 Diamond Mares. Now, you might be thinking that Diamond Mares just don't do a ton. You might want to consider these decks very similar to draft decks, in that when you're making a Flyers deck, you want something that can gum up the ground. And while Diamond Mare isn't, a Pillar Field Ox or anything, it is still able to help stem the tide against medium or low medium creature decks, and against something that has burn. It is going to help you just gain incremental life, and you can keep swinging in with your attackers in the air. Over the course of the game, if you are able to land this on turn 2, it can very easily gain you upwards of 5 life, and that's an entire 25% addition to your life total. And I think in perspective, it's pretty high. Academy Drake, it's a Windrake with Kicker. You're very rarely going to get to a point in the game where you're going to kick this. However, the flexibility of having it kicked is what's very important here. Obviously, a 3-mana 2/2 flyer is kind of just a draft card. If you do have a favorable winds, it's a 3-mana 3/3. But the point of this deck isn't to have inherently strong creatures. It's to have creatures that are going to slowly whittle your opponent down if they don't have removal or flyers themselves. Obviously, one place that this deck is going to be deficient in is dealing with larger creatures. Mono green especially would be very difficult for this deck to deal with if they get out Tramplers, because a lot of our creatures that are going to be held back on the board, like a Servo or a Diamond Mare, these are things that don't have a ton of toughness, and we can easily get bodied by green. However, hopefully we'll have Blink of an Eye to deal with that. Then we move on to Aviation Pioneer, another card that kind of serves double duty. It gives us an artifact and a flyer. It gives us an artifact that is a flyer, and it does serve as its own body on the ground. So if you have a favorable winds, obviously you get a 2/2 flyer for 3. That's already a Windrake, plus a 1/2 on the ground. That's pretty good. Even if you don't get that, you're still getting the value of having an artifact, which is very important. And it's a flyer, so you can just ping them a lot. Sai is probably where I would suggest spending your wild cards initially, if you want to go the artifact route. However, if you don't, you should go for Tempest Djinn, because this card is sweet. We're running, 21 islands? So Tempest Djinn is very likely going to get very swole very fast. Unlike the white deck, we're actually not running very many non-basics. We're just running a couple of memorials. So the majority of our draws are going to just be islands. So this card can get very large. So if you're going more towards the flyers, I suggest using your rare wild cards on this. If you're going more towards the artifact style, go more towards Sai. One of the things that these new player decks tend to struggle with is keeping up on card advantage, because our cards are just less powerful than what some of our opponents will be doing. So I decided to increase the number of arcane encyclopedias for two reasons. One, it's an artifact. It's going to help us with the cards that care about having an artifact out. In addition, it's going to make it so that if we keep drawing lands, we are able to mitigate that somewhat by drawing more cards. This card's not flashy. This card's not amazing. This card essentially is necessary when you're just starting out playing these new player decks. Scholar of the Stars is not a flashy card, just like Arcane Encyclopedia, but it does help you out. It's a decent size body coming down. It is actually better that it's a 3-2 and not a 2-3 because it's a little bit more able to kill your opponent's creatures. And if you do have an artifact, you do get to draw a card. Now, of course, because we have so many artifact token creators, it's not going to be too much a problem of making this, but the reason it's at 2 is because this deck isn't only themed on artifacts. So there will be times where you just get nothing out of this and you kind of have to play it as a sad chump blocker or something. Sleep is kind of our coup de grace, if you will. This makes it so that we can tap down all of their stuff and start attacking with our guys on the ground. This is a sorcery, which is lame. However, it is essentially 2 free attacks. So it's your turn. It's a sorcery. You play this card, you tap down their stuff. You get to attack there. Next, so on their turn, they don't get to untap. On your following turn, the only things on their side that will be untapped are creatures they played that turn, which probably isn't going to be very many. So essentially, you're getting 2 full attacks in with just 1 card. So this is definitely one of the cards that you're going to be looking for putting it into a winning position. 2 air elementals, it's a large flyer. As I said in the mono white video, once you start getting to the higher end, the cards do start getting thinner because as a budget deck, you typically do want to be a little bit more aggressive than usual, just because of how difficult it is to get good control cards in the lower rarities. Good control finishers, at least, in the lower rarities. So we're playing 2 air elementals, 1 Riddlemaster Sphinx and 1 Zahid, as well as 1 Meteor Golem. The Meteor Golem essentially is just a holdover because there are going to be times where we just need to destroy something. Excuse me. And the blink of an eye just wouldn't work. So that essentially is our top end. Then, of course, we are running 21 islands, 2 memorials. The memorials are a small sacrifice of sometimes we'll have a land come untapped, but it is necessary to sometimes draw cards. As you can see, I didn't talk as much about this deck because I do think it is a little bit more simple than the mono white deck that I made yesterday. And the reason for this is having the life gain triggers works a little bit differently. Additionally, I'm more versed in that deck since I do play a Katz deck right now. And I don't play blue a ton. So I very well may make mistakes in the following games. But essentially, what you want to do with this deck is you want to establish a small army of flyers in the air, maybe 2 or 3 creatures, and then put yourself in a situation where you're able to continually blink of an eye things, where you're able to just be chumping with things like Aviation Pioneer, things that you don't really care about, Scholar of Stars, and slowly will your opponent down until a point where you can land that Sleep and Alpha Strike, or you can land that Air Elemental and get in for a single attack that kills them. So, I mean, it is a little bit more straightforward, I think, than the mono white deck. So that is kind of why this is a little less of an explanation thing, and we'll see a little bit more about the nuances when we get into the games. Yes. Oh goodness. Marina, why are you freaking out? Fine, I'll change your priority, and then OBS is going to yell at me. So we're going up against Buy Sauce. Sure. And we're going first. That is nice. What isn't nice is that we have 4 lands and no 1 or 2 drops. Now, something I said was very important is getting that initial army established. This is actually not a good hand. The reason for this is we don't have anything on turn 1 or on turn 2, and our turn 3 plays are reliant on other things. So we are going to mulligan this. We have a huge 2-drop, so this is a much better hand. We have a 2 and a 3. We have Sleep for later on. It's not actually just a 4-drop. So we will keep this. And this is actually probably a fine card to play on for, so we'll keep that as well. So no 1-drop bird, that's totally fine. The Diamond Mare will help, and then we'll have a Tempest Djinn, which will be, what, a 3-4 on turn 3? I mean, that's a strong card. So it will be incredibly unfortunate if we're stuck on 3 lands. But that shouldn't be the case. We have 2 turns to draw another land. So our opponent at least shows that they have a rare. Alright, this looks like the red-white aura deck. So it is a relatively aggressive deck, and we are going to gain some life. Does it get... So it gets +2/+2, so I'll very unlikely be blocking with Diamond Mare, so I will just start attacking here. And the reason we start attacking here is because we just want to whittle down our opponent. And if we know that we're unlikely to do anything about this, we're pretty much going to be... Yeah, so can't block here. So let's see if we draw land. And we do, and that's fantastic. So not only do we get a life gain trigger, we also get to draw a card. Right? And look how fast we've essentially run out of value. Now let's see. This gets for each... Okay. So it'd be at least a 6/6 next turn. So this is not... Like, blocking with both of these is not going to be a great play. Yeah, so they did stumble on lands. However, I am just going to try and kill them faster. I am going to try to race them because I do have Diamond Mare. Next turn, I can Aviation Pioneer. Got another land. I believe... Okay, Danitha, sure. No blocks. Got a land, that's nice. I could just sleep this turn. Is that correct? So I'd be getting in for 9. Yes, I actually think it's correct to just sleep here. Because then they have to focus on just what they play next turn. But sleeping here puts them down to 5. So they have to play a flyer, or else they die to Tempest Djinn, right? And that's what I was saying about sleep. You really need to look at, when you should play sleep, and whether or not you think your opponent is going to have a flyer, right? In that situation, Tempest Djinn was the only creature that needed to get in. They could have, like, bolted the Diamond Mare. Well, I know there's not Lightning Bolt, but they could have killed the Diamond Mare and played a blocker, and I still would have been able to win from that situation, because I thought, I have sleep in my hand. Is there a way for me to utilize sleep in such a way that I win the game? And that's the type of thing you're going to want to look towards when you have that card. Going against Ivor Justicar. We'll be going first. Once again, this is not a great hand. It's less bad because we do have Academy Drake if we do flood out. But once again, I really want to have a 2-drop or a 3-drop, or a 1-drop or a 2-drop. And because there are so many in this deck, I am once again going to mulligan. Unfortunately, this is kind of the other end of things. This can happen, so I'll have to mulligan again. And again. And this is going to happen, right? This type of thing is going to occur sometimes, and that's fine. We are less likely to win because we are 4 cards down on our opponent. Ooh, and they have the Llanowar Elves draw. And I also said that mono green is one of the worst matchups for us. Let's see if I can find anything here. I can't, that's fine. So if they curve out into a 3-drop, that's going to be relatively unfortunate. I will be able to blink it, but I'm not sure if I'll want to. And they don't, that's very good. So I will just attack for 1 in the air. I do have access to blink, although I will want to... I want to wait till I draw a land so I can help get back into the game. What the heck is this? Sure, that's fine. So theoretically we could be drowned in card advantage off this card, but I do have Blink of an Eye, very important. Okay, this card is helpful. If nothing else, I can use it next turn to draw a card. Very, very much what I said during the DeckTech. This will help us to maintain stability. Let's see what our opponent has here on 5 mana. Just a Growth in the Ashes. Alright, well. Do they have a follow-up play? No, they don't. Okay. And we have a Diamond Mare. I'm actually very tempted to just use the Encyclopedia. I'm going to use the Encyclopedia because I more or less want to guarantee a land draw next turn, so that I am able to play either Scholar of the Stars or a kicked Blink. Did they kick that? It looks like they did. Okay, so they're fighting a 1/3. That's fine. Okay, so I got this. If I just blink here, it doesn't really do anything. Except draw me a card. I think I'm actually fine with Scholar or Starsing here. It is unfortunate. I do think this game would have went a little bit better had we drawn our 4th land sooner. But, you know, we had to... you could definitely argue for keeping the opening hand, the 7. However, green is... Oh my gosh. They're vomiting out their hands. Wow, okay. Green is very difficult for this deck to deal with, regardless. Well, like an island. And I mean, that's something that you don't want to put back in their hand, right? So, I'll play 2 mares. I can at least block these, only take 5s. But they're going to drown us an advantage. Very unfortunate. Oh, goodness me. So I might need to sleep here. Wow, that's very unfortunate. If I had a 6th land, I could play this and bounce this, because this can block that. I could sleep here. I don't really accomplish much sleeping here, though. I think I'm just going to... Does Blink of an Eye main phase do anything? I might draw a bird. So the reason I'm doing this is because I might draw a 1-drop bird. Didn't. That's fine. No attacks. Jeez. This is a bad situation. So I think on this turn I have to sleep. Luckily I can... Oh no, I can't play Zahid and sleep. I do think I need to sleep though. Unfortunately, this really only is playing to not die, but I do think I kind of just lose. I could have mulliganed it incorrectly, and that's something that you'll want to look at if you're a new player, is what point of the game do you think you lost? I'm pretty certain that I lost. I might not be dead here. I might have lost during the mulligan phase, right? It's possible that if I had just kept the opening hands, I would have been more or less fine. My opponent didn't have a super explosive start. They just had a lot of ramp. No, because they untap next turn. So I can block this. I mean, luckily they only really have 3 things I'm scared of, and I can kill both of these. The problem is I think that they're going to fight. Yep. So I am dead on board. That is unfortunate. Yeah. Alright. On to another game. These videos on average are going to be a little bit longer. Going against all owned. I don't do stuff like this. Just because I want to make sure I'm getting as much information for new players as possible. This is like the actual perfect hand. I have a 2-drop, a 3-drop, a late game card potentially. It's a fantastic hand to keep. And we're going first again, which is awesome. Unlike the mono white deck yesterday, I feel like our matchups are a little bit more even. Do I want to play Crane or do I want to play Swooper? That's a good question. I think I'm gonna play Super. It's the same power. It's not the same, like, toughness. But let's see what my opponent does here. So it looks like they're playing vampires. A drainy vampire deck. I can block pretty easily here. If my opponent has something to kill my Super, that's fine. But they didn't. Alright, go ahead and play a Pioneer. Cool, cool. So here I can attack. And now I have a decent-sized board for blocking. So I can double block and kill this. I'd lose my servo, but I think that's fine. I do have my Thopter. Each opponent discards 2 cards. Huh, that is unfortunate. I do think I'll discard a Sleep and a Cyclopedia. Cyclopedia could get me back into the game, but I do want to just make sure I have stuff to kill my opponent. I'm just going to play another Pioneer. Keep attacking in the air with my guys, and leave the little ones back to block. Yeah. I was thinking about whether or not to attack with the Pioneer, but my opponent could just chump with anything, so... Yeah, this is just a life drain deck. A Diamond Mare would actually be very helpful here. Oh, that's not a Diamond Mare. Yeah, unfortunately, they are just draining me back. Gross. Okay, that's unfortunate. This is a well put together deck. This is 7. Unfortunately, I think I have to just play it. I can only really attack with these 2. And I need to be able to start attacking with more. And waiting 2 turns for this, I just don't think is efficient enough. So I can only really attack with these 2 right now, because he could just eat these. Yep, chumps 1, or clashes with 1. But as you can see, we're already out of cards. Ooh, and they have another Fell Spectre. So I'm glad I played this card, because I would have had to discard it anyway. And that's something that I didn't talk about. Zahid is helpful as heck here. Unfortunately, I can't really attack with this, because they can just double block. I don't know if my opponent is... well versed enough to know to double block there, but I can't unfortunately risk it. A Sleep would be fantastic here. Ooh, another Spectre. Jeez, this guy is running hot. Diamond Mare is helpful. I'm going to start gaining life back, and I'm absolutely attacking with Zahid while I can. Just took it. Very interesting. Probably the correct play, frankly. Sure, another one of those, don't care. Jeez, this guy's getting nothing but duplicates. Nice card to see. Gonna gain some life, fantastic. Now, unfortunately, they possibly have something to deal with my Zahid. I'm still going to attack. Do I start attacking with everyone? There's only so much they can block and kill to whittle down. Like, on the ground, there's, like, no reason to attack with this. But I can relatively easily attack with these 3. No, I'll wait till next turn so he can attack as well. Sure. Okay. So I'm able to potentially start really threatening his life with Zahid. Ugh, the draining. I do need to be careful. Oh my goodness me. That's, I mean, this is like what we want here. The thing is, we do need to be very careful on how much we commit. Because we are at 10. They have 4 points of just drain, right? But easily coming in, right? Like all of these are pretty easily just entering the battlefield. I can, yeah, I'd have some blockers on the field or on the board. So yeah, I think this is correct. And let's make another blocker, shall we? Sure. How many Sovereign Smites have they played? 2? No, they probably have the 3rd. They're running 3s. Why wouldn't you block Zahid? Okay, so my opponent essentially has to kill me here. Into the battlefield. Sure. I don't think they have enough blockers to survive, though. Right, because they have to block Zahid, they have to block this, they have to block this. So 2, 4, yeah, I mean 4 alone in the air is getting through. Yeah. So favorable winds was very important there, as you saw. Like as I said in the DeckTech, it's very strong card. But you need to evaluate with this deck, probably more than the mono white deck, when to attack with what. Unfortunately, our opponent did have some flyers. Not going to happen a ton. I don't think there are a ton of flyers going on in the quote-unquote lower echelons. Going up against Moonveil. Apt avatar choice, I think. Alright, and we're going second. Opponent deep in the tank. This is a good hand. We will need to get another land, but with Artificer's Assistant, we're going to be able to scry, right? If this was a Gearsmith, we'd be more aggressive, we'd be able to attack, but that aggression's not going to help when we're going second anyway, so we're going to be able to sequence pretty well Artificer's Assistant into Diamond Mare, and we already have the land, so we don't even have to worry too much about it. But next turn, we'll be able to play this, name blue, scry. It's going to be a good time. Probably end up leading with Aviation Pioneer, honestly. Oh, dinosaurs. Haven't seen these in a while. Okay. That sleep is going to be very key against the dinosaurs, for sure. But dinosaurs don't have a ton of fly dudes. I don't need that. I already have a large card. So I don't really need that too much. Alright, let's see what my opponent plays here. They could play a 3-drop and give it haste, or they could play a 4... Just doesn't make mana, just... Yeah, they could play a 3-drop... 4-drop and give it haste, what am I talking about? Right, they just play a 3-drop? Sure. They decide not to give it haste? Okay. Yes, I do think I just want to keep getting cards in the air. There's like Whiptail. It's like a 4-mana, 4 or 5 dinosaur or something like that with reach, I think. There's a few white dinosaurs that have reach, or that fly, but I assume this is just green-red. Next turn on 4. I don't see a reason to sleep. We could just sigh. Something I should have considered is that they could get the thing that deals 1 damage to everything. That'd be very bad, and I assume that's what they're getting here with Forerunner. Nope, they get a Tully. Alright, so they have a red... They have a mountain in hand, right? Or else they wouldn't get that. But I mean, with this, if they play anything, my flyers do just kind of die. I could have triple blocked there. Okay, we do have the ability to. Honestly, I might want to sleep here. And the reason for doing that is so that they can't give a Tali haste. But they have to have another mountain. I think I should have blocked that last turn. Just because that would have done that. Yeah, I should have blocked that last turn. So that's something that you gotta pay attention to the small things like that, right? I could sigh. But I wouldn't even have enough to sacrifice things to draw a card. Air Elemental is almost for sure coming down next turn. It might be better to sleep Italia, though. Yeah, I'll sigh. Oh yeah, he's a legend. I totally forgot about that. I actually want to keep this land on top. Because if he does give it haste, I would rather the top card be a land, right? So. Attack with my 2 in the air. Who will probably die. Because of this creature right here. Whenever a dinosaur enters a battlefield under control, you may have it deal 1 damage to each creature. Very unfortunate. So do they have the red land? Ooh, they do. Okay. Well, this is going to be unfortunate. I'm going to take a chunk of damage. And a lot of my creatures are going to get hurt. That is unfortunate. Why didn't you play Tali? I mean, I think that's probably a better play. This one. Because he's going to be able to destroy my stuff. But I feel like a Tali there's really good. Oh god, now I can't even play this. You just killed your raptor, bro. Alright, well, I don't have to worry about the raptor anymore, and I also don't have to worry about Atali getting haste, so I can play this. Yeah, that's gonna die. So I can play this, and try and kill him before... It's unfortunate that I scryed that island. Let's play the air elemental. So I have to kill him in 4 turns. So I have attack, play sleep. Yeah, sure. You get more lands. Ugh. So if I attack here, put him down to 12. I think I can take 1 hit from Atali and save the sleep. Are we taking... Alright, Encyclopedia is not terrible here. I'll be taking... 1, 7, 11. That's very dangerous. But I think I have to wait another turn. Because if I sleep now and they play something like also strong, it's going to be not great for me. Oh, Blink of an Eye is so helpful. Okay, so I need to live 3 turns in order to win. Blink of an Eye does help. Sleep helps a ton. Okay, they didn't get anything, but they can arch. Yep, they're gonna arch now, which is very, very correct. Yep. Okay, sure. They're gonna keep getting lands out of the deck. Okay, let's see. So if I sleep here, I get 1 free attack. Oh, this is gonna hurt. That is unfortunate. Wait, he didn't play it? What? What? He didn't play that card. Okay, that's very good for me. So I'm just going to sleep here. And I'm going to wait to use the encyclopedia. Because I might need to blink something. Emergency blink. Nope. Goes ahead and arches. The problem is I don't think I have another turn. I think I need my other sleep here. Drover, sure. Because, I mean, I'm just, like, dead on board here. Sure. Oh my goodness. Ask and ye shall receive. I'm not going to lie, that top deck won me the game. That was 1000% luck, 0% skill. 15% concentrated power of will. But I knew what my outs were, right? A lot of people would concede in this situation, looking at the board, saying, oh, well, I'm kind of dead. But well, that's lame. Fun fact. Oh, wait. I think I can respond to the fight trigger by bouncing it. The problem is I think you can just play it again. Oh, that sucks. 6. It's 8 mana. Darn. Crap. Because I can blink it. Wow. That's darn. Make sure you note, sometimes you think you're going to win, you're not going to win. But it is still important, you know, play to your outs, know what's in your deck, know what can get you there. I only have 2 sleeps, so I am now just, like, actually dead. Man, if they had anything but that Allosaurus. Or they just didn't have this much mana from ramping early. Because I can blink. I can blink that, right? Yeah, I mean, I can blink this, force them to play it again. They didn't play Arch of Araska. They didn't use... If they used Arch of Araska first, I'd also be fine, but... Man, that is unfortunate. Yeah, darn. I do assume my opponent does know they can just cast it again. And kick it. Yep. Darn. Ow. That hurt. At this point I am just dead, right? I am just out of options, so... That's unfortunate, but obviously how the deck plans on winning, right? It does want to chip your opponent away, have one of the high-end flyers, and then sleep them to death. Maybe add some more sleeps. Sleeps would not be a terrible thing to add. Let's open up our pack here. Packs are great for us. Ooh, hello. Alright, well... That was the mono blue deck. I hope the fact that I don't play blue very often wasn't too apparent. I hope this deck video has been informative in some way, has been helpful in some way. If you guys like the video, please tap that like button, add a subscription to your mana pool, and cast a comment to the comment section down below. I'd like to thank Easy Mode, Chris, Daniel, Flowerchild, and Chow083 for their support on Patreon. If you would like to help them help me, you can find the link to that in the description below. As well as the link to all 3 of the deck lists I showed. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Until next time, all will be one.